Hey guys, welcome to a Smogcast regarding the suspect tests of Serperior, one of the more interesting Pokemon that's probably going to be suspected in the next little while. This Smogcast is pretty much going to cover the basics. We're going to go over things like team building around Serperior, preparing for Serperior, just talking about it in general. So yeah, let's get right to it. First things first, talking about Serperior as a Pokemon is kind of interesting because it is one of the few Pokemon that outspeeds base 110s without actually hitting the 115 benchmark. This is probably one of the, I'd say, larger disadvantages to this Pokemon. And you know what? It's probably one of the smaller cons to many of the pros. So one of the most common sets you're going to see is probably going to be something like this, with Leaf Storm and Power Fire, Dragon Pulse. Maybe you'll see Synthesis. Maybe you'll see Glare in replace of one of these moves. I'd say the more popular combinations would probably be somewhere in these vicinities. There are definitely combinations like this where they go much simpler. Have Leaf Storm, Taunt, Drain, Synthesis. Probably more direct Serperior that doesn't really care about Pokemon such as Humongous and Goodra, and instead opts to just go more head-on. There are also different varieties. So you can probably opt for leftovers. And this is probably what makes Serperior a huge threat, because you're always going to be looking at situations where you're facing this thing and saying, oh man, I got to take this out now, or I've got to switch to something now. The second you let Serperior get to +3 or +4, generally something is going to die. And that's usually the most unfortunate. So at this point, you're constantly going to be focusing around its speed and its special attack. There are a couple of sets that can utilize its defense, but generally those are going to be more for niche moments that require usage of such sets. So just a reminder to always have your attack at 0 for IVs, just to avoid foul play damage. And that way you can actually opt to do quite a bit of damage to Umbreon, even take it out, especially with a set like this. So just talking about its strengths in general, Serperior has the ability Contrary, which means that every stat change is inverted. Now for something that has Leaf Storm, this is extremely dangerous. Serperior can both set up like a nasty plot and do a crazy amount of damage. Even if you opt to use something like Metal Plate, you're already hitting as hard as a Life Orb Celebi, and we all remember how powerful that used to be in the previous generations. Even this generation could see a little bit of damage happen from that little thing. So Serperior is a huge threat for these reasons, and you really have to make sure you're building a team that can withstand such a threat. So before I get into that, I just want to talk about team building for Serperior and the kind of partners you could build around it if you wanted to work on the suspect ladder. The thing about the suspect ladder is that it actually really changes as as the new mons are kind of introduced, and you're interested in kind of adapting to the play styles that are going to be used around this new mon. You're going to be team building a little bit differently because certain threats are going to pop out to deal with things like Serperior, because why wouldn't you prepare for that on a suspect ladder? So one of the most common counters, and I'd probably call this a hard counter to Serperior, is Amoonguss, because it can just absorb any amount of Leaf Storms that it wants. Probably not a +4, but at that point, before it gets to that point, it can usually stop Serperior in its tracks with a Sludge Bomb. So let's just get right to it. Let's use Serperior as our first Pokemon, and let's go for something standard, just to keep it simple, more or less. Metal Plates, I'm a big fan of Metal Plate over Life Orb. Personally, I appreciate the ability, I guess, to make sure that you're not exactly being taken down by Life Orb damage. Some people even prefer leftovers because they don't really care about the damage loss. And in fact, you could even go for that. we can even go for it ourselves, maybe to make synthesis even more effective. So one of the best partners that you're going to notice for Serperior is going to be Mega Aerodactyl. Mega Aerodactyl actually takes away a lot of pressure. And we're not going to be going for the staple attacking set. We're actually going to be using something that can be used around Serperior's checks and counters. So things including Crobat. And we know Crobat doesn't mind getting a nice U-turn, or Brave Bird against Aerodactyl before it switches out. Aerodactyl isn't the bulkiest of Pokemon, so it does tend to get worn down. So what we're going to do is give this thing quite a bit of speed. It's going to need it. Then we're going to give it just enough HP to hit that, precisely. We're going to hit the following numbers because of that. This is going to hit 339, which is 105. 105 positive nature. That's a pretty good number to hit for a support set Aerodactyl. It hits a lot of things for a lot of damage. 3 KOs, a lot of stuff. You're typically not going to be keeping it in unless you're going to be either cleaning or using things like taunt on things that don't expect to be taunted. Making this a great partner for Serperior in general to kind of relieve pressure against things like Amoonguss. Or things that may want to switch out of Amoonguss, preparing the chance to maybe sweat up against Aerodactyl like a Mega Swampert. Because the second a Mega Swampert gets Rain Dance, it can do quite a bit of damage with Ice Punch against Serperior. So you kind of got to kind of think ahead during those kind of moments, and always make sure you're using the most appropriate set that fits for the team you're trying to build. Oh, in case you haven't noticed, I'm trying to build something more balance-oriented, as that is my main strength. I am a balanced kind of guy. Some other partners you could probably pick are Gligar in order to absorb physical hits and use things like a slow U-turn to get Serperior safely. I'm a big fan of Fortress myself, though we'll try to avoid using it this team because not everyone uses Fortress. Now that we have a Mega slot, we're actually going to have to avoid using Mega-oriented Pokemon, instead relying on the majority of interesting and acceptable Pokemon that are non-Megas. I think there's a great list to choose from. Nidoqueen will probably be a fantastic way to support both Serperior and Aerodactyl by absorbing some minor hits. Sorry, I got a bit of a cough. So with Life Orb and Sheer Force, you're going to be doing quite a bit of damage to anything that wants to switch into anything that doesn't prepare for Nidoqueen switching it into it rather. So the standard set here would be Stealth Rock, Sludge Wave, Earth Power, Ice Beam. We're not going to go for Timid by any means. I'm perfectly satisfied with this much speed. Typically, I don't leave Nidoqueens against other Nidoqueens anyways, and that is generally going to outspeed all speed creepers. Once again, we go to 0 attack to make sure Foul Play does as little as possible. Now, despite the support that we have for Serperior, it's still only offensive support. I always like having that one fallback one you can rely on. In this instance, I'm catering my attention towards something like Umbreon. Florges would also be a good option. I think we'll stick to Florges just to kind of continue the nice special pressure that we have. Now, talking about some Pokemon that saw a bit of a shift in the meta with the new suspect testing, Florges is one that comes to mind. And the reason I say that is because Florges was something that usually used to run mix in, am I Sludge? Oh, haha. Thank you for catching that. Florges was something that could usually afford to run something mixed, so that it could take on things like a non-choice Crocodile, while still being really effective against Mega Blastoise and other, decent special wall breakers. The thing about the new meta is that Heracross applies a significant amount of pressure with its incredible coverage of fighting and bug. So because of that, Florges saw the need to switch into more of Heracross's attacks more than ever. It was now the go-to, and a non-bold nature was just not doing it. So the standard set very quickly became what the Combine standard set was. Now you could probably go into 4-speed if you want. I mean, I think feeding another Florges or 75 is just really up to you. I don't really think it matters, but it's not to say it won't be effective. So now, with these 4 Pokemon in mind, we have to think of situations where we can safely switch in stuff like Serperior and make sure that we have a core that can keep these 2 bulkier yet still offensive-minded Pokemon alive. Now, the Pokemon that I'm sort of thinking that will work really, really, really well here would probably be, I know we said we weren't going to use Fortress. It really is a great fit. But in order to keep this a little bit away from that idea, we're going to put Rotom-H. And we're actually going to put a support Rotom-H with leftovers. The reason for this is because, as of right now, bulkier Pokemon, especially bulkier ground types, bulkier water types, they still kind of affect us, especially things like Umbreon. Even though Serperior can probably do a lot of damage to it, just that free switch with the Scald is going to affect us a lot. So it's always nice to kind of have something that can absorb something like a Scald with only, moderate damage being done, despite it being a fire type. Actually, maybe there's something a little bit better. It would be nice to get a slow switch there that still has the type advantage over bulky waters and grounds. I could be overthinking it, though. Yeah, I mean, I probably am overthinking it. I think Serperior will probably definitely be sufficient after, switch into something like that. I guess we'll just carry on. All right, so we have Volt Switch, we have Overheat, Will-O-Wisp. So it's generally the standard set. Now, a lot of things run 210, or maybe they used to. I'm not sure if they do anymore now that Machamp isn't as, I guess you could say, common now that Heracross is around. But I still think things run 210, just to be clever. So we're going to be a little bit more clever and just make sure that we're putting enough speed into it to really surprise some key threats. Now, last but not least, I would love to get a Defogger on here. But that will mean compounding our ice weakness to crazy levels. And I think I just noticed that we have a huge, huge ice weakness. So I'm actually going to change this to a Swampert. And we're going to go standard defensive. It doesn't apply nearly as much offensive pressure, but it does give us a physical check to when Florges can just not take the hit, which actually happens against stuff like Mega-Beedrill. So we've got that going for us. Some things that come to mind are like Empoleon. I just hate running 2 waters on a team. I don't know what it is. People do it. I'm not a big fan. And I'm not really scared of fires anymore. I guess we can use Fortress. No, I tend to be a dick, and I usually run Overcoat. So let's keep with tradition. Let's see, you guys. I like tradition. Now, I say this in all my videos, but I'm just going to say it again. Check this out. 212, 405, 216, 407. Learn your jump points. They're really, really cool. All right. So, I really don't like this Rotomage. I'm thinking of switching it to Chandelure. I just don't like how I don't like how water types can just come in and do whatever they want, get a free Scald, get a free whatever. I hate free things. And this team is kind of lacking on the offensive presence, lacking severe wall-breaking presence. So I'm thinking, instead of all this mumbo-jumbo, we'll use a very nifty set that I've enjoyed using lately. It also gives us a spin blocker. I mean, yay. But yeah. Now, with this in mind, I generally don't like testing on my account, but whatever. I already hit Rex. I really couldn't be bothered to care. So just looking at this team, I think a good way to lead would probably to go to probably just go into Serperior, see what happens. I mean, the worst that could really happen is either Wolisp or Volt Switch, which I'm not really too worried about. I'm just going to get a Leaf Storm off right away to see if it's Scarf or not. So right away the Aerodactyl comes out. Aerodactyl is a really, really go-to, I guess you could say, counter. Or check, you know, depending on how you look at it, because sometimes you could run enough defense to survive an Aerodactyl's Aerial Ace and KO with +2. In this case, we don't have that, but that's how we go into our Swampert. Now he has nothing to absorb water moves. Even so, that was a pretty decent play on his part. I was expecting he would go into his... Oh, that did a lot more damage than I thought it would. That's totally cussed that. Oh. No, that's just fast. All right, I've never seen a fast... Yeah. I think it's fairly obvious what's going to happen here. Florges is probably the best play to make. Probably start applying some pressure against his other mons. I don't know what set that Chandelure is. I gotta be careful. I just hope it's not Calm Mind. That's pretty good. I'm glad it wasn't Calm Mind. Now, I don't know if I want to be clever and anticipate the Encore again. I know that Aerodactyl can take care of it at this point. Do I want to risk it? Why not? You only live once. And I still outspeed, so I guess it's not the biggest deal. But now I got to make sure Dactyl does enough damage to make it count, or just make sure Fortress comes in and takes care of the rocks, which might be difficult because of Chandelure. But if we can lure out that Chandelure, by God, we may have just done it, guys. Well, I forgot that thing was alive. Damn it. I totally forgot that thing was alive. I know that Chandelure is coming. Florgus is probably the best bet. I have to try to scout to see what the... of course. Of course. But of course. Now he has a free Shadow Ball. Or a free Fire Blast. I guess it's just a matter of perspective. If this thing has Energy Ball, I'm done. The best thing I can do right now is just to work around like this, try to get the glare off so that Shandy can come in and do its thing. And then once in a while you get lucky, right? So, you know. Pretty much I want to get Swampert in safely. I want to try to confuse him and try to get him to avoid using Energy Ball. That's essentially the goal. I'm not sure if he was going to go for it. I hope he wasn't. I should have seen that coming. But that means we get some revenge kills, and that means Swampert can be effective in like 2 seconds. So. But Alakazam does worry me, though. And I keep forgetting this Aerodactyl is alive. I really hate that invisible mega slot that doesn't exist. Hmm. This thing totally is energy ball. They always have energy ball. Sorry for being so quiet. I've been thinking. I put myself in a bit of a hole. I guess I'm not really good at this game. Not bad. We're also at 12.7, so we have one more Stealth Rock switch in. All right, Swampert. Not quite enough. I hope we survive an aerial lace. I don't think we do. I really hope we do. But I don't think we do. Or I might just go for the Stone Edge. It's honestly my fault for not putting out Stealth Rocks 100 years ago. Anyways, it's unfortunate we couldn't really see Serp's talents in this game. Probably just misused it. I think what I would have done was just use Stealth Rock instead of going for the Earthquake way back when against Rotom. But aside from that, it's pretty successful test. Losing is always successful if you learn something, is what I say. And I think a big thing about building good teams is just keep playing, keep noticing the strategies that people use. Figure kind of like go-to ways that you can work around it. It's always the best way to win. Yeah, good buddy of mine, Unfixable, definitely deserved the win. So yeah. Oh, this is the wrong set. Well, whatever. I guess it came in handy. Yeah. So I'm probably going to store that team for later. For now, I'll show you guys something that can actually counter Serp really well. Hopefully we'll see it, but if not, then I'll just use the team to the best of my ability, try to go for a win. This is a team that someone named Reach Zero actually built. Really, really effective team. He originally had a Serperior instead of a Salamence. I decided to replace it with a Choice Scarf Salamence. I find that it's a really effective revenge killer. Does the job really, really well. And yeah, it's one of those teams that looks bulky, but generally focuses on applying a lot of offensive pressure and only going to its fallbacks when it has to. So a good example would this be like, try to avoid using Outrage and instead using Dragon Claw with to clean in order to not get locked in and go to your fallback Pokemon to kind of force a sort of pivot. And this kind of strategy actually got me to first. So I mean, I haven't used it in a little bit, and I've been kind of tilting since then. So hopefully we can change up the pace a little bit and win one before I keep losing. So I guess in the meantime, we can just kind of talk about what is there to talk about? Let's talk about how the meta's been shifted a little bit. I guess that'd be a good place to start. Oh, all right. And with that, a game pops up. Let's see here. Not too threatening of a team. Anytime I see Scrafty, I can't help but not take it seriously. Generally, Blastoise is the perfect anti-lead for most teams like this, especially when you see something like, Arcanine, Vaporeon. He's not going to be happy with his matchup, and he's going to want to switch out. I'm going to go for a Dark Pulse right away to kind of scout out the Vaporeon, because I know he's going to switch into it. There's no doubt in my mind. He also has nothing for Snorlax as soon as that Scrafty's gone, so that's a really, really cool thing as well. Probably just going to keep using Dark Pulse just to kind of see what he does. Goes for the Wish. Now would probably be a good time to put something to sleep. Cool thing about Amoonguss doesn't really care about things like burns. It's the wonderful thing about it. As long as it can take the hit and do what it needs to do. So just we're kind of waiting for him to use the Spore. And that's about it. I started waiting for him to move so I can use the Spore. Let's make him hurry up a little bit. Come on, get a move on. Here, I'll put some fun music for you guys. Okay, I don't think I'm a big fan of that music. So we've actually put ourselves in a really bad position. 2 unlucky Skull Burns. I guess at this point I'm just going to start being offensive. Doesn't really hurt. Yeah, unless he has Roar, he doesn't really have anything for the Snorlax. Unless that thing's like bulk up Scrafty. Oh god, Scrafty's so bad. What would anyone use Scrafty? You chat, tell me. What would anyone use Scrafty? Tell me. If someone can tell me why Scrafty is bad, I'll give them 100 points. If someone can tell me why Scrafty is good, I'll give you negative 100 points. Scrafty is not good. You're wrong. So just judging by the look of this Vaporeon, it's either going to take the hit and lose, or yeah, I guess set up the wish and hope that something can take the hit. But I'm going to rest as soon as anything comes in. Just a whole bunch of yeah. I knew it was going to come in eventually. I didn't know when. I just knew it was going to come in eventually. So pretty much the goal here is to wither down to Scrafty, try to get it to be paralyzed in the hopes that Chandelure can come in and sweep it. Hmm. Maybe I shouldn't do streams at 3 in the morning. I'm convinced that this will KO. It needs to. Hmm. I mean, even though Salamence is weakened, it's still going to do quite a bit of damage with Outrage. Yeah. That's the problem, to be honest. Oh, geez. And it's Psychic, too. Double OGs. Just for shits and giggles to see if Rapid Spin KOs. Oh, look, it doesn't even KO. Bad. I think with that, it is a great place for me to end this stream. Take care, guys.